Chosen One, this audio reached you at the exact minute that heaven marked your door. The life you dream of can pass just inches away from you if you do not recognize the hour today. Look around. Everything seems the same, but something has already changed in the air of your home. You didn't click here by chance. It wasn't an accident that you stopped everything right now to listen. There was a restlessness that pushed you to this very instant, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. That tightness in your chest that you couldn't quite name. That feeling that something was about to arrive, yet you couldn't see from where. You woke up yesterday with a heavy thought crossing your mind. You stared at the ceiling at 3 in the morning and felt someone calling you from the other side of the silence. And a part of you tried to dismiss it as nonsense, but I guarantee you it wasn't nonsense. I know you are tired with a weariness that rest cannot cure. I know you have been looking at your house and feeling a weight that doesn't come from routine. You withdraw more. You speak less. You avoid conversations that used to nourish you. And a part of you even thought this was depression, weakness, or distance from God. Listen carefully, because what I'm going to tell you now changes the reading of everything. This is not a collapse. It is preparation. It is formation. It is your inner self being rearranged from within, because what is coming from without requires a vessel that can no longer be the one from before. There is a spiritual door opening over your home at this moment, and I'm not going to stall you with empty promises. I'm going to explain how you recognize the sign, what you do to cross through, and why this instant carries the weight of an entire generation. There is a reason why you woke up today with a different heart. There is a reason why none of these words sound strange to you. Save this question for the end, because I promise to answer you. Why you? Why now? Before we continue, do something for yourself. Comment below the word Shiloh if your spirit is recognizing this hour. It isn't a magic phrase. It's a marker. It's a way for you to say out loud to your inner self, I got here on purpose. Shiloh is the name of the place where Caleb slept on a random stone in an ordinary place and woke up discovering that heaven had been open over his head the entire night without him knowing. Write that word, then come back to me. There are signs you have been feeling for weeks, perhaps months. You called it stress, but stress yields to a vacation, and this did not yield. You called it anxiety, but common anxiety doesn't drive you to your room at 4 in the morning to cry for no reason at all. You called it bad luck when your plan stalled, but listen, resistance usually appears just before the crossing. The obstacles that appeared in recent months were not proof that you failed. They were proof that you got too close to something you yourself cannot yet measure. Here you need to hear something few people tell you. There is a massive difference between someone who receives a calling and someone who learns how to cross through it. Everyone talks about the calling. Almost no one talks about the crossing. The calling is an instant, the crossing is a daily posture, and it is exactly at this point that many chosen ones stop halfway because they received the word, but no one taught them how to walk inside it. You've felt this firsthand. You've left a service, a prayer, or a night where heaven spoke loudly to you. 3 weeks later, you were exactly where you were before. It wasn't for lack of faith. It was for lack of a method. It was for lack of someone to take you by the hand and show you step by step what to do with the anointing that descended upon your home. And it is exactly for this point that the protocol of the chosen exists. The protocol of the chosen is the complete application system that takes everything you will hear in these minutes and teaches you to practice it day after day within your real week. These are guided modules of inner formation, daily exercises of spiritual posture, a silent community of other chosen ones who are crossing the same door, and meditations for those moments when your mind tries to pull you down. It isn't a course for you to watch. It is a path for you to walk. A woman named Sarah entered the protocol after 3 years of stalled prayer. In the 2nd month, she told me a sentence I have never forgotten. I discovered I wasn't waiting for God. It was God who was waiting for me to organize myself inside. Today, her home is different. Her gaze is different. Her destiny is different. The entry value is a tiny fraction of the cost of remaining stagnant for another year. For those who are ready, the path is in the first pinned comment below this video. No rush, no noise. But before you go there, stay with me, because what I'm going to show you now is the layer that makes everything else make sense. There is a detail few tell you about old Caleb's Shiloh. He slept without knowing. He laid his head on a random stone, and heaven opened while he was unconscious. The ladder went up and down over that head all night long, and he only found out in the morning. Why am I telling you this? Because you too have been lying on top of your door without knowing it. You too have spent months sleeping on top of a calling that was open over your house. The fatigue, the confusion, the isolation, they were merely the reflection of what was happening in the dimension you cannot see. I know you want this to be true so badly, and at the same time you are afraid of building expectations. I know a part of you is thinking right now, what if I believe and nothing happens? You carry that scar because you've tried other times. You've raised your hand, you've made the vow. And the results seem to evaporate. That is why your heart is protected today. That isn't a lack of faith. It's a survival instinct. Listen calmly. The difference this time is the substance. You aren't going to leave here with euphoria. You are going to leave here with instruction. And instruction does not evaporate. Instruction builds. There was a separation happening in your life, and you felt every piece falling. People left. Conversations lost their flavor. Environments that once nourished you began to suffocate you. You looked at old habits and they stopped making sense. And a part of you wept for this in secret. A part of you felt guilty for no longer wanting what you wanted before. Look at me. Not every loss is a punishment. Some losses are redirections. When the door opens over the house, what doesn't fit in the new stage begins to leave on its own. You aren't becoming hardened. You are being fine-tuned. There was an invisible battle before this moment. There was confusion inside your head. There were brutal doubts about who you are. There were criticisms that came from people you would never imagine. There were obstacles arising out of nowhere, bills arriving without warning, problems coming out of holes that seemed closed for years. You even thought you were being punished for some old mistake. You weren't. Resistance usually appears just before the crossing. Repeat with me in silence. Resistance usually appears just before the crossing. That wasn't a sign of defeat. It was a sign of proximity. Now I need you to elevate your vision, because today is not just about you. You look at your life and think about bread, about bills, about children, about marriage, about a job, and heaven is looking at your great-grandchildren. You have no idea the generational weight that is upon this door. The patterns that have been breaking inside you over the last few years were not just your personal victories. They were chains that came from 5, 6 generations back, and you, exactly you, were chosen to cut them. There is a different spiritual heritage being built starting from your home, and that is one of the reasons why hell screamed so loudly against you in the last 12 months. Why you? I told you I would come back to that question. You look at your history and you see losses, delays, betrayals, years that seemed wasted. Listen carefully. Your story was not random. Every trial had a purpose that you didn't perceive at the time. Every wound developed a muscle in you that other people do not have. Resilience, faith, patience, emotional strength that you yourself don't recognize when you look in the mirror in the morning. You were prepared in a laboratory, in the darkness, out of the spotlight, away from the applause. That is why this door opens over your house, and not over the house of that neighbor in Maplewood, Q, whom you silently envied in some year you'd rather forget. I know this word is being difficult to receive. You feel small, you feel ordinary. You don't see yourself as chosen, and that is exactly where the secret lies. The chosen one never feels chosen before crossing. He feels like the last in line. He feels like the least prepared in the house. Daniel was the boy in the fields. Samuel was hiding in the winepress. Joshua was a fugitive in the desert. Heaven does not choose based on how you see yourself. Heaven chooses based on what it deposited in you before you were born. 5 changes begin today over your home. I'm going to deliver them to you one by one, and I want you to feel where each one touches. The first change is the environment. The atmosphere of your rooms begins to reorganize. You will notice a different lightness in the air. Arguments will lose their strength. The emotional weight that used to greet you when you arrived home will begin to dissolve. It won't be immediate every single day, but it will be undeniable within the coming weeks. The second change is personal. You yourself will begin to project a different posture. Other people will ask you if you changed something, and you won't even know how to explain what changed. The gaze changes first. then the voice, then the presence. You will enter environments where you used to shrink, and no one will understand why that environment no longer intimidates you. It is the anointing that reorganizes the posture. It is the formation that reorganizes the bearing. The third change is direction. New ideas will begin to arrive. Solutions to old problems will appear to you while you are washing dishes, driving, or taking a shower. The next steps will stop being hazy. You will understand what to do tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and next week. This happens because your inner self is stopping the noise to the point where you can finally hear the instruction that was always available, but was being muffled. Write in the comments now, calmly and with presence, the phrase, "I crossed the door God opened." No exclamation point to seem excited. Use the sobriety of someone who knows what they are saying. This phrase is your agreement with the invisible. This phrase closes a chapter inside you that needed to be closed. The fourth change is the reordering of relationships. Some people will approach you in a way that didn't make sense before. Others will vanish, and you will feel relief when you realize it. Do not force what has already ended. Do not try to hold on to what heaven is releasing from your hand. Each person who leaves is making room for another who was being delayed because you were busy trying to hold on to an expired connection. The fifth change is financial movement. Here I ask for double attention. I am not going to promise you money falling from the sky in a week. I am not going to deceive you. What opens today is a path. Opportunities begin to appear in unexpected places. Resources that were stagnant begin to move. Cycles of scarcity begin to be cut at the root. The money will come. But the money will come as a consequence, not as the protagonist. First the position, then the provision. Whoever inverts this order spends their whole life spinning in circles. Come back with me to Shiloh. Caleb woke up from that dream and did something very interesting. He took the stone he had slept on and set it up as a memorial. He transformed the place of unconsciousness into an altar. And he said that phrase that has crossed the centuries, "God was in this place and I did not know it." Look at your house now. Look at this living room. Look at this bedroom. God has been in this place longer than you imagined. You just didn't know it. There is one last test coming. I need to warn you because the silence regarding this last test is the reason why many chosen ones abandon the path 3 steps from the destination. When a door opens, there is a moment when doubt comes with brutal force. It may come through a criticism from someone close. It may come through a new distraction that catches your eye right now. It may come through an old fear wearing new clothes. Do not abandon the process when it begins to yield results. Repeat silently to yourself, "I do not abandon the process when it begins to yield results." You feel that this word is demanding something from within you. It is, and that is why it is working. Every real word has a cost. Every real crossing has a weight. Listen to what I am going to tell you with all the clarity I have. You were not invited to this door to fail on the other side. Heaven does not open a door to shame the chosen one. Heaven opens a door to multiply what was being dammed up. There is a layer here that still needs deepening, and that is where Miho, the protocol of the chosen Beresiu Di-chan, becomes useful in a practical way. What you felt in the last few hours is a sign. What you do in the next 3 weeks decides if this sign becomes a testimony or if it becomes just a beautiful memory. Inside the protocol, you receive a 7-day plan just to reorganize the environment of your home, a 14-day path for inner posture, and the accompaniment of guided meditations for those moments when your mind wants to pull you down. I don't ask you to believe me. I ask you to listen to your own restlessness. If it brought you here, it knows the next step. The link remains in the first pinned comment. No noise. Your participation is necessary. This is the point that separates those who cross from those who stay outside, knocking on the door. You need to remain open. You need to remain attentive. You need to remain willing to act when the impulse appears. Do not act out of fear. Do not act out of haste. But also do not ignore the opportunities that will begin to pass near you in the coming days. There is an internal declaration that needs to be made. It isn't a declaration for a stage. It's a declaration in your room, in silence, with yourself. You surrender control. You let go of the resistance. You accept the preparation you have already received in the hidden place. You renounce the old fear of not being enough. True transformation begins with a silent agreement between you and heaven, and no one needs to be watching for that agreement to happen. In the coming hours, stay attentive to what usually goes unnoticed. Important conversations will disguise themselves as common talk. Sudden ideas will arrive while you are doing something mundane. Opportunities will appear inside messages you almost ignored. Repeated signs will repeat until you finally notice. Unexpected encounters will happen in places where you don't usually go. Write down everything that seems significant to you. The mind forgets. The notebook keeps. The door has already opened over your house. I repeat because this phrase carries weight. The door has already opened over your house. It isn't going to open. It isn't about to open. It has already opened. And your job is not to make it open. Your job is to cross through. Now I need you to visualize yourself differently. You do not wait for your destiny to arrive. You walk as the person it has already made you. You speak with the confidence of someone who knows who they are. You make decisions with the authority of someone who has been positioned. You leave the old mentality where it belongs, on the ground behind you, and you don't even turn to look. The new identity doesn't arrive tomorrow. It begins today. There are people near you who need to hear this word too. You don't receive this light to keep it inside your chest. You receive it so that it overflows. What you bless expands. What you share becomes stronger. When you talk about this door to someone who is tired, you aren't just helping that person. You are consolidating within yourself what was still fragile. Multiplication works like this. The impact of your crossing reaches far more lives than you imagine at the moment you cross. Here is the great truth. This is not just any day. You will remember this moment a year from now. Something is ending inside you as I speak. Fear is ending. Doubt is ending. That old feeling of smallness is ending. And something is being born. A new confidence. A new direction. A new stage. The door is open. The question is not whether change has arrived. The question is whether you are willing to cross into the life that is waiting for you on the other side. You are not ordinary. I know you don't see yourself that way, but your story, your losses, your delays, your weariness, they built in you a capacity that heaven does not waste. What seemed like suffering was a school. What seemed like a delay was protection. What seemed like abandonment was sacred confinement, so that you wouldn't break too early. You made it here whole. That in itself is a testimony. Remember what I told you at the beginning. I promised to answer you why you, and now you already know. Because you survived what many would not survive. Because you remained standing when everything inside you asked you to fall. Because you held on to faith at a time when no one was watching to applaud you. Heaven saw. And heaven marked your house today. Before you close this video, remember, for those who are ready to go beyond what you saw here today, the complete application path is in the first pinned comment. The protocol of the chosen is where you transform this word into daily practice. Don't rush. Read calmly. See if your spirit recognizes it. If it recognizes it, you already know what to do. And now, before the silence, do one last thing. Comment below the phrase, "Today I cross." 3 words, no theater, no exclamation point, just the final agreement between your heart and this open door. These 3 words will anchor you in a decision that many will take lightly and soon forget. You are not many. You are chosen. The door has already opened over your house, and what begins today does not end when night falls. It is the start of a chapter that has been preparing for a long time to find you.